Well, if you want to watch a writer struggle, look no further than this vlog. We struggle with all the things, with structure, with plot, with characters, with actually getting words down on the page. Enjoy? Welcome to The End, Diaries, where we write together book 4 of a trilogy of an alternate history fantasy romance about sea dragons, the end of the world, and Arthurian treasures. Isn't that cheery? Hi, this is Leanne. I am back from my holidays, as you may have heard in my last vlog, and I've just started writing again in book 4. I've spent about half an hour, which is not long, admittedly, maybe a little longer than that, writing and just finding my way back in. I had done a summary of some things that happened at the end of my previous writing session, like 3 whole weeks ago. And so I have just decided to expand that as a way of finding my way in, and it went very well, thank you. So 3 pages, half an hour, not a lot, but for a first time, so not too bad for a first stepping into it. It seems like I have decided just to write this chronologically, and then we'll just figure out how it's going to be structured later. It makes sense to me, because otherwise, how do I know how people feel back before something major happened? Well, the thing about going away is that you have to start scheduling posts and things again, so your serial can keep running. So that is what I did yesterday instead of writing. Today, it's like late in the afternoon. I had done just about everything else but write. And now, late in the afternoon, I'm finally going to settle in to do maybe about an hour of writing. Where it left off yesterday, I felt pretty good that I'd fleshed out a scene that I had summarized before I'd left. And now I'm wondering if I have to actually replot the whole thing, because Lear just may be convincing me not to go in a certain direction. But we're both going to keep an open mind. We'll try it and see if we like it. And if it turns into an enemies to lovers thing, then we'll all be happy, won't we? Going to do some writing and see how much I get done today. Right, well, I have written on the back cover, because I didn't want to stop and pick up a new book, but it's time for a new book. Excuse the mess. I live in here. It's not focusing at all on there, is it? Here we go. This is my stash that I got from Daiso. They don't carry them anymore. Now all we have to do is write the name. Also, excuse the shadow. And I think that wraps up the writing for today. Starting a new book and leaving everybody in a bit of a cliffhanger is good for me for writing, just as it is good for you to continue on and read the next chapter or installment of a serial. So I'm going to leave it there today. I think I've written 3 pages. No, probably not even that. 2.5 pages. Bit by bit, we will get this story written. So it's Wednesday afternoon, and I have not written since last Saturday. Sunday is usually my day off from all things worky type related, even though writing is play. But I use it to catch up with my reading. Monday was a video editing day, so I could get the next video diaries to you. And then I spent the afternoon struggling with getting a longer making of the lap book compendium thingy for book 3 up and out, and it's now been split into 2. So that took all afternoon because I was just fighting my very slow computer. I'm going to have to get a new one. I've resigned myself to that, but not this week. And today was basically taking my mum out to lunch, and that was lovely. And so now I'm home. It's almost 3 o'clock. I reckon I can get an hour or two of writing in before I have to go make dinner, which is an easy instant pot dinner, so no biggie there. I'm going to go start writing, and I'll come back to you with some thoughts. Now I am starting a new one. Let's get going. Put this off long enough. Well, I managed to get 4 pages written. It's getting dark, so the light's been turned on, hence the unusual and interesting shadows. And also the zit on my chin. Menopause. And I don't know how much of this is going to make it into the book. Because I'm writing chronologically, I've realised that I need to know what happens in order to be dramatic about it later in putting the book together. So, and I'm also limited by the fact that this is written in people's journals and letters and diaries and that kind of thing. So it's a limited point of view in that sense, in that the story unfolds for them chronologically. Now, whether I'm going to throw these scenes in as like flashbacks, take some serious editorial prerogative with how I'm transcribing this, I don't know yet. It may end up being chronological. It may actually make more sense to do that because it will be in serial format. And being in serial format means, you get the story week to week. So if one week we're in 1821 and the next week we're in 1817, that could get confusing. So I'm just going to write it, see what happens, theoretically. Hoping to do some more writing tomorrow. It is Thursday afternoon, and I have a couple hours to write before my afternoon appointment. Spent the morning doing previously on, as in previously on such and such, for A Sword for Wellington. And that was about 30-something chapters I needed to write previously on for. It was great to do a high-speed look through the novel and see how it was still hanging together pretty well, I think. I think it's going to be a fun ride to read that week to week, and also be interested in seeing how people cope with the changing point of views as we switch between Gwen and Hugh and Idathea and her crew. Have to make a mental note to check in on that in a couple of months, which is around about the point where the two timelines start converging together. I'm going to write for a couple of hours. I'm at the point in the story of choosing a point of view to write from. Idathea is usually my go-to, as her journal was the one that started it all. But she'll be underwater for this, and I have a feeling this is going to be traumatic enough that she's not going to want to write about it. Not to give anything away. So I may have to pick one of the other characters, which would be one of the other above sea characters, which narrows it down to Hugh and Jasper. So I suspect Jasper's going to be writing about this, which is going to be a different way of looking at things. He's usually a little bit self-involved, shall we say. Perhaps less so now. I think he might have grown a bit since the first time I wrote from his point of view. He doesn't get his words said very often. They're more often reported by other people. But he has a few times poured out his soul on the page, so he might be doing that again. I might have just finished a section of the story, and now I'll be looking to write the next part, and I don't know how that's going to go. I have lots of ideas for how to do it in the making of the lap book, the journals and so on. I have lots of ideas there. How to actually translate that in the story into a serial format, I'm still struggling with that. So I'm just going to keep plowing through. I'm going to keep writing. I'm going to let future me worry about whether to make this into a series of flashbacks, or if we do it chronologically, or if there's a third way. There might be a third way. So that is the current plan. So I'm going to get stuck into that, and I'll see you on the other side. I'd spent the last hour or so writing. I haven't looked at my pages. I'll put that down here. If that's important to you, they're all handwritten. I did a lot of scribbling out, as you might have noticed. Left off at a point where I need to imagine what happens next. That's how often I write, is like I imagine the scene playing out, and then I write down what happens. And sometimes I just write down what happens, they tell me, as I'm writing, which is what happened today, unexpectedly. I wasn't planning that scene yet again, but my new point of view character had some things happen, so enough of being vague. So we're on to the next section, I think, after I finish this scene that I need to finish imagining, and then we'll be jumping forward in time, which will be me going back to the computer for the next bit, to go through the early opening chapters of that original Sea Dragon story that started this whole thing way back when, that failed synopsis 3 chapters that we're revamping for this last and final book and merging all the characters together from all the books. Yes, we're going to meet Josie, or whatever it is I've decided to call her name. I think Lunid, I think. And it'll be a big jump in time. I also need to figure out the timeline. How big of a gap do I have between what's just happened that I've just written and then the opening for Josie slash Lunid for her to tell her part of the story. Oh, that means I'm going to change it from third person to first. Yippee! Tomorrow I have my co-writing session, so I will probably actually be scheduling posts during that. It's not a great writing time, or I might be doing the editing. I do want to get down to the studio and work on my 120 paintings, because I haven't done that yet this week. Because I am multi-passionate, I am learning to balance my writing passions with my painting passions with my dollhouse passion. It's Friday. I had the plan to write this afternoon, but best laid plans. I could still possibly write for an hour. But I'm at a point in the story where I really need to figure out some reactions, some not good things happening, and it's very big and cataclysmic, and so I need to rehearse it, I think, a bit more in my head. And it's got hardly any rehearsal because I fell asleep pretty quickly last night. So, hoping tomorrow, I do have some time scheduled set aside for writing, so I think that's tomorrow. This beginning of the novel is not going too quickly, but structure's been bugging me, and this scene that maybe I should just skip it, come back to it. But I think the words that are going to be said in this scene are going to be the ones that scar, and so I need to know what they are. Alright, so hopefully tomorrow I will have better news. So last night, I was in my co-writing group. I worked on scheduling. I usually work on scheduling Substack posts because, well, it's about all my brain can do at that time of night. And then I started editing the original manuscript that started the whole Mordred Chronicles thing. So that was last night, and today I continued with that. I have finished a whole scene. I'm a little bit iffy on it because I can see where it was like the dream that I had that sparked the story, and it's a little too dreamlike. So I'm wondering if maybe I should dial it back a bit. Maybe just cut that weird piece out. I also considered making another change, but then I decided against that. And the original opening of the whole, there was the dream, which is like the inciting incident for our female character. Lunid is her name, previously known as Josie. Lunid. So there's an inciting incident that was the dream. And then I wrote this opening scene, big action scene, plunging you in the middle of everything, kind of explaining that this is not the ordinary world anymore. It has changed quite a bit from books 1 through 3, thanks to the unleashing of the chosen court upon the world, in a sense. But they didn't quite get it right. Oops, as we will see in book 4. I have done that. I'm now going back to attempting again to write a really difficult scene for Idethia and her court. And I think I got off on the wrong track last time, so I'm going to try and backtrack a bit and do that. There's also a prompt that came out on Substack today from Scoot at Gibberish. Or was it Gibberish? Is it a GIF or a GIF for gibberish or gibberish? Is it GIF or GIF? Anyway, he did a prompt that I think might work well for that little mini serial that I did while I was in New Zealand and posted onto my publication called The Stars Were Bright. And so I might write some on that too. We'll see. But priority first is book 4. I've already done some work on it, but I'm going to do this tough scene and hopefully I can figure that out. Maybe. Right, well, before I lose the light completely, I wrote for about an hour. I have figured out the scene, sort of. I'm not sure I completely got it right yet. It's supposed to be a big blow up and everybody kind of simmered and snarled and there's just some snapping, but nothing major. So then I decided to leave that and I've worked out the timeline, so I know exactly when this book 4 picks up for real in the next segment. Really have to think about why I'm choosing not to show the huge blow up. I don't know, maybe it's time for another chat with Lear and figure out what's going on in his head. But yeah, so I got words down. I got some pages written, 3 or 4, I think. And something is better than nothing, as they say. I'm going to leave it at that. Tomorrow is Sunday, so that's I might catch up on reading of all the serials that I read on Substack. And there are quite a few of them. I'm thinking of writing down a list of what I'm currently reading. Maybe I'll share that in the description below or a roundup, a post over on Substack maybe. Thanks for watching. I hope that wasn't too painful. If you got this far, please put a little pen emoji down below because that's kind of cute. Please, as always, if you like this video, like it, subscribe if you want to keep seeing more vlogging content from me and making of. I still have to edit that second making a black book video. I don't know when I'm going to get to it. I'll get there. And if you're interested in reading what I've written so far, head on over to the Mordred Chronicles. I have that link below for you to sign up at projectstarfish.substack.com. And there I have long fiction, short stories, short serials, and of course this long Mordred Chronicles. Thanks again for watching and we'll see you next time. Bye!